All right, so this is a suggestion via a channel member. Guys, let's check it out.
Presented the President of the United States the medal of the Nobel Peace Prize, and I told him this, listen to this. 200 years ago, General Lafayette gave Simón Bolívar a medal with George Washington's face on it. Bolívar since then kept that medal for the rest of his life.
We don't know yet what the president's reaction was to that gift.
Okay. I mean, it would have been amazing to hear the rest of the story.
We do know he wanted the prize himself. We should note the Nobel Committee has made clear the Peace Prize cannot be shared or transferred after it is awarded by the Nobel Committee. The meeting comes as the White House says Trump stands by his assertion that Machado does not have the support necessary to lead Venezuela. Just yesterday, the president called Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, of course, Nicolás Maduro's former vice president, a terrific person following a phone call.
Really?
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says
she's a terrific person. Her. This one. The one that was in a shadow the entirety of the time that Maduro was basically running Venezuela. She's a terrific person. The one who learned all the trade secrets and was basically completely compliant to Maduro the entirety of the time, but she is the... Okay, that's interesting. I definitely would say the other one most likely is the one that the people actually wanted, but yeah, I get it, right? I mean, I get it. I guess it makes all the sense in the world here. She is the one that had most connections specifically with the government, let's just say this year, and all the other entities and, of government, let's just say this year. But other than that, what do you mean by she's the one? Because she's terrible. Like, I can only imagine how terrible she is. The other one seems better. The people wanted her. But all right, either way, we'll see.
the current Venezuelan government has been extremely cooperative.
Oh, she said, I'll give you the oil.
Secretary Rubio and the administration have been in constant communication with Ms. Rodriguez and other members of the interim government in Venezuela. They have been extremely cooperative. They have thus far met all of the demands and requests of the United States and of the president.
In Caracas, Delcy Rodriguez delivered her State of the Nation address. She urged her country to wage a diplomatic battle with the U.S., saying, quote, if I ever have to go to Washington as acting president, I will do so standing tall, walking, and not crawling. Kristen Holmes is live at the White House. Kristen, is it clear to you what the next steps are for Venezuela? If Trump is still saying Machado doesn't have the support and that he likes Delcy Rodriguez, seems like they're happy with the status quo for now?
Well, for now, certainly. I mean, we know one of the things that President Trump and the administration was trying to focus on was stability in the administration in Venezuela. That's part of the reason that they had kind of turned their focus to Rodriguez after the capture, or actually before the capture of Maduro, for this idea that, one, they could have her in place and then put the screws to her. We know that they've kept the Armada that is in the Caribbean with essentially weapons pointed at Venezuela just off the coast. We know that we've kept sanctions, or at least some of them, in place. These are all forms of negotiating tactics to put the screws to Rodriguez to get her to do what the United States wants. Now, you heard Caroline Leavitt in the briefing today. She would not give any sort of a timeline on elections or a shift to democracy in Venezuela. So it's really unclear what this looks like in terms of steps. All we really know right now is this step or phase one, which is this kind of stability period where you see President Trump, the United States, trying to rebuild the oil infrastructure and continue to use basically the same regime. Maduro is gone, but Rodriguez is essentially a part of Maduro. She was part of his inner circle. She was his vice president. But to put an enormous amount of pressure on, and Rodriguez seems to be playing ball with the White House in a way that Maduro was not willing to. So right now, it does seem as though they are happy with the status quo.
Okay, yes. It's crazy because to my knowledge here, like the sole purpose for us kind of being there, doing all the things that we basically did were to basically kind of fix the reason why people are flooding our southern border, okay? But if we're just going to maintain the same exact thing with just a different face and gender, it really doesn't make much sense here, guys. The person that was like democratically, specifically elected to run the country, but was never able to. What do we mean by she doesn't have enough support? Is it because I'm lost here because things are starting to not make much sense here, bro. All right, I'm going to be honest here. Not much is making sense. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it deeply here, but it's not really making much sense here. What's the difference between her, the one who was basically in the tutelage of, Maduro, and the other person that the people actually, guys, I am thoroughly confused, and I have no idea why I'm so confused. Maybe it just doesn't make much sense.
It's quite a change, given most of the government remains from the Maduro regime. Kristen Holmes, thanks so much. Richard Haass is President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations. He's also the author of the Substack newsletter, Home and Away. Richard, good to have you.
Good to be had.
So I first have to ask you this, given your long history in diplomacy. Is there any precedent or anything close to a winner of a prize, a Nobel Prize or similar, feeling pressure to give it to the U.S. president to curry favor?
I think that's a rhetorical question, Jim. I'm not familiar with anything like it. It was quite a gesture on her part. And I think it's her attempt to bring the president over, even the conversation you just had, to where he sees a meaningful role for the political opposition in Venezuela.
It's an empty gesture, though.
Is it clear to you that he sees a meaningful role? Because listening to Caroline Leavitt today from the White House podium, she repeated that Trump doesn't quite believe Machado has the support. He said that he likes Delcy Rodriguez. She's being extremely cooperative. They seem to be prioritizing stability of oil supplies getting out of there, and there's no timeline for elections. Is the status quo going to stick around for a while?
I would think so. This administration, when you think about it, is not about promoting democracy. That's not on their bingo card. They are interested in access to oil. I also think they have a legitimate concern that if they try to interject Mrs. Machado and basically say she has to be the next leader or you need to have elections right away, that could trigger civil conflict. You have a lot of guns and a lot of small groups running around, and my guess is they'd see her as a threat. So I think the real question to me is whether the president opens up a middle ground between the status quo, working with essentially the old regime minus Maduro, and something that would try to usher in democracy quickly, and whether he's willing to open up some type of a gradual process, and we'll see.
You've written in your recent piece that the U.S. Doesn't just lack the means to run Venezuela, as the president claims to be doing right now, but also the appetite. Explain what you mean.
Well, to run a country, you've got to have a real physical presence, military presence. You got to be there politically on the ground, economically. I mean, think about it. What we did in Japan and Germany after World War II, more recently, what we tried to do in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Panama, nation building, the idea of shepherding a country through a political transition. You don't do that from offshore. You don't do that by telephone. You've really got to be there. You've got to rebuild institutions. You've got to lead by the hour. And I just don't see this administration making that investment. A lot of its base would be violently opposed to that type of a foreign or international commitment. So again, the president wants the benefits of that kind of a policy without the costs. And it's just life doesn't work.
Oh, yeah,
way.
you're right. You're right. Like, completely. Like, I mean, if Trump was to basically do exactly what this guy just dictated here, I can imagine people would be massively up in arms. I would specifically be largely. Because first of all here, all right, my whole idea of why we were there was to basically kind of, stop all the absolute narco nonsense, that's basically flooding our country. Then number two would be to basically stop the influx of Venezuelan migrants basically flooding our southern border. But it turns out that that was not the case at all the entirety of the time, guys. This is a moderately stressful thing to encounter here. All right. So, listen, if you're going to do something, you want to get them completely out of this, guys. I mean, that's what I thought we were doing here. But it turns out that's not even the case at all. We're basically leaving the same exact regime there. Obviously, he said even minus Maduro. How is this beneficial to us? The same thing is going to happen here. She learned from Maduro. Why is she in power? I'm thorough, guys. We're gonna talk more.
Cite, of course, previous examples of failed U.S. efforts at nation building, Afghanistan and Iraq. It seems like the administration's making the argument that they, for instance, are not making the mistake that the U.S. did in Iraq of taking apart all the institutions there, de-Baathification, all that stuff you're very familiar with. I mean, is there any wisdom in that argument?
There is. What we did in Iraq was wrong. We disbanded the military. We disbanded all the institutions. So we had no one to work with. This administration now is going to the other extreme. Rather than nation building, this is just a simple leadership change.
Yeah.
And what they're hoping is this is enough. But as you heard, say, from the leaders of some of the oil companies, Jim, this is not a recipe for long-term stability. And if you want American companies to make long-term investments, you've got to give them more confidence. That's why I think what the administration is doing might be okay for now, but it won't be okay permanently.
The examples that you'll hear from some of the administration supporters, setting aside Iraq and Afghanistan, are places like Panama or Grenada, let's be frank, much smaller than Venezuela. But they'll say, well, look what we did there. It worked there. It can work here.
We had unique relations in places like Panama because of the canal. We also had 25,000, 26,000 troops there. We had an American serviceman there killed and so forth. So we had stakes there. We had a presence there. So because it worked there is not an argument it will work here. It's just the opposite. If we're not willing and we're not able to establish that kind of a relationship with Venezuela, there's no reason to expect we're going to have that degree of influence.
Okay. Kind of towards the end here, everything obviously makes sense here with what he's saying, and that's crazy. I generally don't really agree with much specifically that happens over on CNN, but I do think that this is a solidly even-keeled piece here. He's not wrong specifically, right? But also at the same time, he can't do it. Because if you want to actually fully rebuild the nation of Venezuela, kind of in kind of our image, if that makes any sense here, we would definitely have to have a gigantic presence. And guess what? The majority of people that supported Trump or just are not inherently progressives immediately perceive this as a waste of money, right? Like the same reason why you start hearing people say, why are we dumping money in these foreign countries that have really truthfully nothing to do with us other than reasons for, I don't know, to support the oil lobby or something, guys? This is why, guys. I mean, we can't be there long term to do anything because, again, not many people are going to want that, right? The left will also go absolutely crazy if we were to actually be there. So, again, this is not really much of a win-win scenario kind of coming from any angles here, right? This is just a terrible, terrible situation that we have not found ourselves in, specifically if we're not going to allow the democratically elected leader to actually take care of Venezuela. And we're just going to do the same old, because what, the military respects the previous leadership? Guys, what does that mean for us? I mean, obviously this person she kind of knows if she doesn't, kind of do what the United States of America wants, she's probably not going to maintain anything. So that phone call was probably a gigantic amount of bootlicking, okay? To the point where it was just like, listen, I'll do whatever you want me to do, just maintain me specifically in power. Guys, again, how does this benefit the people of Venezuela specifically? All right, because my goal is to make them good so they do not flood our southern border, okay? That's my opinion at least. I mean, obviously other people have other opinions, but I do think that we definitely need to kind of shed the idea that we are this globalist, like imperialist type of society. That would be amazing if we can kind of lose that image on the world stage. But with things like this keep happening, like specifically this incident here, we're never going to shed that image, guys. We're never going to. It's never going to happen. Not with this here. All right. And then obviously, word coming from specifically Iran that if we were to enter into Iran and then take over their oil fields, right, then maybe, just maybe, the Ayatollah will kind of back down a little bit, guys. So we have multiple issues here, like multiples. And I have no idea where we're going to go with this one here, but yeah. So I'm sure one day we'll kind of get this sorted here. Guys, do you want to watch movies with me? I never actually thought to promote it over here, guys. But if you guys do want to watch it, guys, we have hundreds of movies, and I mean hundreds of movies that we've reacted to. You guys can come watch them with me if you want to, along with many TV shows. Currently, we're working on the show Dexter, along with Vikings. And we have a lot of series that are already completed. But if you guys do want to watch it with me, the link is in the description. Everything's available at the second tier. But of course, if that's not your thing, guys, don't worry, right? Listen, like and subscribe.